Marta Kaemmer. I'm academically trained as a painter, but I basically see myself as a visual artist incorporating many different media into my work. What have I been working on? I start with one idea and it just moves forward. So I was looking at Dr. Seuss books last year and I came up with this little design. And so from this, I'm like, what would that look like if this part was crocheted and it was 10 times bigger? I sketch out ideas. Sometimes it's just pure doodling. This is based on a vase form that both of them are in the kiln right now, so I can't show you. These were the Dr. Seuss drawings that led to these forms. Part of the playing is just looking at something and saying, well, I like that in this size, in this medium, but what if I made it bigger in a different medium? And then I do something like that, so one medium spawns another idea in another medium. Well, I started taking ceramics almost 2 years ago, and that has changed how I work a lot. Just trying to think of what I can build three-dimensionally using glazes as color instead of painting. What I'm really interested in is the idea of a painting being flat, and how do you create the illusion of depth in a painting? What if I painted on a four-sided surface? And then it was like, well, if I paint a black dot, it gives the impression of light being sucked into the box. What if I drill a hole instead of painting a black dot? So taking those painting thoughts and making them literal is kind of what I started doing. I like coming up with relationships between things that are unexpected. I think that's the ugliest eye I've ever painted. And there's something ugly about this. Somebody made this in ceramics as just to prop up a head that she had in the kiln. And she was going to throw this away, and I'm like, can I have that? I just think it's beautiful. She didn't make it as something of value, and so there's an unconscious hand of hers in that just, I find, makes it really special. It's really hard to make something like that if you try. It really is. Partly I like the chaos because, an air-dried clay piece will be standing next to a piece of yarn, will be standing next to something else, and suddenly I'm like, that looks really cool together. Actually, some of these things are like that. I'm still not 100% happy, so they're up there just to, maybe someday I'll be looking at this and be like, that needs, and I'll have an answer. Material, styrofoam. Like maybe someday I'll be sitting here and think, that needs to just sit on a styrofoam pedestal. And that styrofoam pedestal needs to be fuchsia. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I do like using simple materials that are around. That Michael's is one of my favorite art stores. I'm not ashamed to say they have great deals on cheap yarn, and cheap yarn is the best for bright, obnoxious colors. I've also started an eyeball series. Basically, I've been working with circles, and anybody who draws several circles a lot of times will realize when they intersect there's an eye form. So the eye forms come in and out of my work, and I just started embracing it. I do think about how the colors are combining, what color is going to be, like this purple one, I was like, well, it's purple, which theoretically would push back a little bit, but then you got this fuzzy thing pulling it out, so you've got the texture working on it. Also, I'd never explained that earlier. I call my Tits series. I don't know if any of you have watched Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, but she and her manager would say tits up before a show, and I just thought that was a great phrase. So this Tits Up series is actually what it is. It is also a bit of a feminist take on art history, painting the square, targets, all these, using crochet, craft to make a target. When the pandemic hit, I did get unemployment, and I'm very thankful and grateful. And I was like, great, the government's supporting artists for a change, and I am going to take a paid residency in my studio. And unfortunately, artists don't get to do that very often. So I'm still trying to figure out how to keep that momentum I developed, keep it going. It's been difficult because I, like many intelligent people in this country, have been getting really depressed lately. And my work doesn't come from a dark place. It comes from a experimental, if I crack myself up in the studio, I know that's a good piece. I keep junk around like this. Like this whole corner is kind of an ode to my parents, who both passed away in the last 10 years. And with that, my past. My dad was an ethnomusicologist in Zimbabwe, which is where I was born, so some of his musical instruments. And again, it's just, I love the form of these things. You know, it's a simple gourd rattle, but isn't that a beautiful? Does that remind you of anything over there, somehow? It does me. And my mom lived in Japan for 7 years before she was married, and she collected kokeshi dolls. So also, I like stacking things. And I was like, why do I like stacking things? And then I saw these when I was visiting her once, and I'm like, I grew up looking at these little dolls. That's why I like stacking things. I like round objects on funny shaped bodies. The painting is adorable. And this is also a kokeshi doll, which I find that is like the ultimate minimalistic kokeshi doll. That's amazing. This is a sock darner, but aren't these interesting forms next to each other?
I mean, it's funny because now you are doing open studios and you haven't done it.
I haven't done it in 3 years because I live and work in chaos. And to clean this up so that lots of people can, come through and look at my art, no, it's just too much for me normally. So this is actually perfect because I don't mind sharing my work and my thoughts with anybody. But it's just difficult, the open door policy, because it's a mess in here, and I like it that way.